Florida Live starts now.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon live on Fox Local, YouTube, and on Fox 35. It has been a busy day. If you've been with us on Fox Local since 11 o'clock this morning, we have covered a number of live events. If you are just joining us here on Fox 35 TV, we will do our best to get you all caught up over this next hour. We begin today with news out of Tampa, where we heard for the first time from the new ownership of the Tampa Bay Rays, this new group led by a developer out of Jacksonville, and they talked about their first priority being finding a stadium site in the Tampa Bay area. Here is what the new owner, Patrick Zalupski, said earlier today.
It's no secret that we need a new forever home to secure the Rays' long-term future in Tampa Bay, and delivering upon that objective will be our first priority. Our goal is to have a world-class ballpark ready for opening day 2029. We acknowledge this is aggressive and perhaps audacious, but time is of the essence. The ballpark will anchor a best-in-class mixed-use development of likely at least 100 acres containing hotels, office, retail, restaurants, bars, music venue. This list of criteria is effectively everything we believe to be essential to delivering a world-class live, work, play experience. We are also determined and pledged to you to build a championship caliber team, and we believe this development will generate the revenue needed for long-term sustainable success. This in turn will create jobs for our community, supporting economic growth and opportunity in this region for generations to come. To be clear, it is our first and highest priority to find that home here in Tampa Bay. We understand the history and how important it is to get it right for the fans, our employees, the entire Tampa Bay region, and Major League Baseball. We're confident that working together, we'll find the right path forward. Plan A is to figure it out here in Tampa Bay. And again, we're confident that we're going to get that done. We know it's going to be challenging, but to Ken's point, it's our job as well to lay out the vision and have the community buy into that. We can't just come and say, well, hey,
that's right,
you have to give us this. It's a partnership.
That's right.
And so we've got to work together. We've got to provide economic reports and studies and work together with the counties, with the municipalities, the cities, to come up with the best cohesive development we can generate together.
So a lot of new information that came out of that news conference earlier today. Joining me live now to talk about this is Fox 13 news reporter Evan Axelbank, who was there at that news conference. Evan, I know you had the chance to speak to them and ask some questions yourself as well. The first time that we've kind of had the chance to hear from this new ownership group. What did you make of what we heard from them? Because we know there are some large questions about the future of this team.
Well, it's clear that they understood the assignment, right? The assignment is to get a stadium built, and they say they're going to do so here in Tampa Bay. The question is, and the questions are, how they're going to do that. And they were much less specific on that. Certainly, they don't want to box themselves in here early on in a negotiation. But they made it very clear that they're going to be talking with officials both in both in Tampa and in St. Pete. And it is clear to me that despite some reporting that indicated they'd be looking on the Tampa side first, it's clear to me that they're going to at least have a conversation with the mayor of St. Pete, who led the negotiations with the previous ownership group to build at the gas plant site, the site that the Trop is on right now. Those ultimately failed after the hurricane swept through, but it's pretty clear to me that they have an open mind. They're going to be looking on both sides of the bay here to figure out what the public-private partnership is going to be. If you've heard the press conference, not that anybody pays attention to the names of the reporters who ask questions, but the question that I'd asked was, is there going to be a public investment that you expect? Do you expect to request money from the public as the previous ownership group did? Without a doubt, they made it clear that they are going to see this as a public-private partnership. And so that then raises the question of, can they offer more money than Stu Sternberg did? Remember, he offered about $600 million to build the stadium. The city of St. Pete and the county of Pinellas offered collectively $600 million on their end. I asked whether the contribution that they would make is about that $600 million, and they would not give a hint as to how much they'd be planning to spend. But that is going to be the second biggest question, is what's their preferred site? And then how much money are they willing to put forward? And is it going to exceed what Stu Sternberg had promised, which was, again, $600 million? So, this is very early here. They made it very clear they have not gotten in detailed discussions yet with the various governments that are going to come into play here, but things are so early, and it's just very hard to tell exactly what they're thinking, because publicly, at least, they're saying that both sides of the Bay, Tampa and St. Pete, are on the table.
They did talk a little bit about some of the criteria they're looking for. They talked a lot about the importance of kind of having a complete development, similar to what is outside the stadium in Atlanta where the Braves play, and talked about the importance of that kind of mixed use space to generate revenue for this team. What did we learn about kind of what they are looking for, and what a stadium site and what a kind of stadium development would look like?
Well, we learned a few things. One is that they are going to see this as a domed stadium, not a retractable roof. They're also planning to host about 150 to 180 events per year at that dome stadium, to include concerts and potentially other sporting events, and potentially high school baseball, what have you. I mean, anything to bring the community into the stadium more, I think, is something that they're going to look at. But they have mentioned that they want 100 acres of property, which starts to exclude certain very high-profile properties that have been considered for a long time to at least be in the running for a new stadium. That would include potentially even the gas plant site where Tropicana Field is. If they stick to that 100 acres, well, the gas plant site's 86 acres. So how do you weigh that? Ybor City, is there enough room in Ybor City for a 100-acre development? That's in Tampa. There's lots of buildings there. There's lots of development there already, of course. Can you fit in a 100-acre development there of new things? They're going to want a fully engrossed and engaged neighborhood there. They're going to want to start from scratch, I think, in a lot of ways here. So that's a question. There are two sites on the Hillsborough side that do seem to offer that much property. One would be HCC, which is Hillsborough Community College, and right next to Steinbrenner Field. There's also Raymond James Stadium across the street, and the city is used to, and the county is used to, bringing people in and out of that site routinely. So that certainly seems like it would be one place that would be in the running, just given the size requirements that they do have there. The other place would be the State Fairgrounds, which people from Orlando might be familiar with. That is, maybe 10, 12 miles to the east of Tampa. There is a lot of property there. There's a lot of room there. Easily 100 acres. There's probably 1,000 acres there. So that could be a potential location that would seem to fit with their 100-acre requirement that they're at least talking about today.
We saw at the news conference Ken Welch, the St. Petersburg mayor. We saw Jane Castor, the mayor of Tampa. Have they said anything after this news conference? Have we heard any reaction from them?
They have. The Tampa mayor firmly believes that Tampa and Hillsborough can make a commitment, a financial commitment that is on par with what Pinellas County can offer. She said very clearly to me, we've already matched what they've offered, meaning in previous negotiations. So she believes they can do it again. St. Pete, on the other hand, they may have lost one of their sort of advantages, which is that the development rights are now held by the city and not necessarily by the team. Mayor of St. Pete has said, and he said today again, that he stands by his comment that the team would not be getting a better offer than the $600 million that was offered previously by the city and the county and Pinellas County. So, the question is just what St. Pete is willing to do in light of all of these developments, given that the previous ownership group backed out of a deal. There was a deal signed to build that stadium. Are they going to be willing to start again and go back to the drawing board with the Rays, given that there are already development sites at Tropicana Field? it's hard to see that happening, but the mayor certainly says that he's open to it. The question is just what partnership and what expectation the team would have when it comes to asking for a contribution from the public. If it's not going to exceed the $600 million, well, costs are only going up. So while I think there's opportunity on the Pinellas side, the question is just how it all fits in to what has already happened and what the public can continue to offer.
We heard the new owners say the goal is to have a new stadium open by opening day of 2029, which is certainly an ambitious goal. We know that they still have a few seasons left in the Trop, and the owners also did talk about making some improvements to the Trop, in addition to obviously the roof repairs that are ongoing. But talk to us about what they said. It sounds like some investments going to be made to the fan experience to make things a little bit nicer at the Trop.
Well, they're going to have to improve at least on the things that were already in the Trop. Much of that was damaged in the storm. I mean, you see there, they say that about half the roof is now on Tropicana Field. So that's, an amazing achievement. And they're hoping to have that part of the roof done by the end of the year. And then they can begin fixing the things that are on the inside. And there is a lot to fix inside. I mean, they're going to have to put a new field in. The field has all been ripped out. They're going to have to redo some of the concourses because water's gotten in. There's been water intrusion. Now, some of that work is going on as we speak, but the water is a very difficult problem. And of course, water continues to rain here in Florida. So, they're going to have to, they've made it clear they're going to have to fix some of the video boards and the sound systems and the electronic systems. I mean, a lot got fried in this storm. So that is going to be a big, big part of what the new ownership group is going to have to do. And that is, make Tropicana Field as palatable as they possibly can over the next few years before the team can, fully, take over again in April of 2026.
Well, Fox 13 News reporter Evan Axelbank, we appreciate you joining us here on Florida Live and breaking all that down for us.
It's my joy. Good to see you.
We're going to take a quick break on Florida Live, and we'll be right back. A live look at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. on this Tuesday afternoon. It is day 7 of the federal government shutdown. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us live on Fox Local, YouTube, and on Fox 35. I want to take you to North Florida, where we heard from Congressman Jimmy Patronis. He represents Florida's 1st congressional district, and he held a news conference earlier today talking about the impacts of the ongoing government shutdown, specifically talking about the impacts on military service members, federal workers as well, the impacts on workers like air traffic control workers and those who are having to work and facing a looming deadline for a paycheck where if something doesn't happen, they're not going to get paid the next time around. So this is Congressman Jimmy Patronis speaking at a virtual news conference earlier today.
Today marks 1 week of the Schumer shutdown. This is not a budget issue. This is a clear failure by the Democrats. My constituents in Northwest Florida are directly being impacted. And again, this shutdown was a choice. It did not have to happen. Let's go through some facts. House Republicans sent a clean 24-page continuing resolution. This is the exact document that the Democrats have already voted for 13 times before. The only difference is Trump is in the White House and Schumer must appeal to his radical base by scoring points against the administration using the American people as leverage. This is horrible. Here in Florida District 1, we're home to some critical military installations, whether it be Eglin Air Force Base, Herbert Field, NAS Pensacola, Corey Field, Duke Field. Many service members have been furloughed and been forced to work without pay. Active duty servicemen and women who defend our nation may not be paid by October 15th if the shutdown continues, and that's simply unacceptable. Our Coast Guard still protects our shores, even though they aren't receiving a paycheck. At the same time, Chuck Schumer wants $1.5 trillion for new spending for health care for illegal immigrants. While Democrats and leadership are playing politics, Florida faces some real economic consequences. The Florida gross state product is approximately $911 million each and every week. That's almost over a month's time, almost $4 billion due to the Schumer shutdown. Prolonged shutdowns threaten SNAP benefits for nearly 3 million Floridians. About 1 million of those are children. Approximately 155,000 Floridians that work for the federal government. That's 1.6 of the state's workforce is either furloughed or forced to work without pay. And in Northwest Florida, the airports in Pensacola and Fort Walton are already seeing some effects. Now, TSA has been a popular subject of discussion. TSA agents that work to keep our airlines safe and keep Americans safe are working without pay. Now, this will lead to staff shortages, low morale, increasing wait times. The list goes on. But as your congressman, I serve on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee and have direct oversight over the airlines. And through the One Big Beautiful Bill, we sent over $10 billion to modify and improve our air traffic control systems. And all of that is coming to a grinding halt because of the shutdown. The impacts will just continue to worsen as the Schumer shutdown, as many agents are not able to afford to stay on the job. Air traffic controllers are essential to keeping our airways safe. They're also required to work without pay. Secretary Duffy said the airspace remains safe, but he noted that air traffic control facilities are experiencing an increase in sick calls. Some of these facilities are losing as many as 50% of their workforce on any given day because of the shutdown. Duffy warned that understaffed facilities could result in flight delays, cancellations, as the FAA limits capacity through certain sectors of our airspace. The result's going to be flight delays and increased safety risks. Across the board, the shutdown threatens the efficiency and safety and reliability of our transportation system, all while Democrats are fighting not for the American taxpayer, but for illegal immigrants. From TSA.
Was Congressman Jimmy Patronis speaking earlier today about the government shutdown and impacts on folks here in Florida. Meanwhile, we also heard just a little bit ago from State Chief Financial Officer Blaise Ngolia, who was in Seminole County earlier today talking about what he highlighted as $48 million in wasteful or excessive spending in the Seminole County government. This is part of his audits going around the state looking at spending in a number of localities. He says he came to Seminole County because we know the county commission recently voted for the first time in 16 years to increase property taxes. And he said if you're a local government that votes to raise property taxes right now, you're going to hear a knock on my door. Well, they did, and he was there today talking about $48 million in what he believes is wasteful or excessive spending. He says with that tax hike, that number would go up to $77 million in wasteful and excessive spending. Here's just a little bit of what the CFO had to say a little bit ago in Sanford.
And Seminole County, just like every other county and city, blew right past those numbers. Now, we've crunched the numbers. Once we did, in Seminole County still exceeded inflation and population, which would be a realistic budget, because when we did the numbers, indexing for inflation and population, we came up with the number what it should be, what the government general fund budget should be, realistically. Seminole County blew past that number. In our estimation, $48,445,891. This is past accounting for growth in government with inflation, population. That is past hiring fire and police. This is the number that the county has spent over and above what we believe should be a reasonable budget in order to deliver services. Let's put it into a little bit of visual context for you guys. Here is your Seminole County budget. As you can see, we started off, just for some visual, the 2019-2020 actual budget. Once we index and increase the budget for inflation and population growth, we should be where the blue ends. Seminole County blew past it, and that was the actual spending. Overtaxing and overspending.
That was CFO Blazin Golia speaking at that news conference just a little bit ago in Sanford, talking about the general fund budget of Seminole County. That is now the sixth local government that he has been to in the past few weeks, looking through this and kind of releasing these top line numbers of what they believe to be wasteful and excessive spending as the state looks to eliminate property taxes, or at least greatly reduce those. An ongoing conversation that we expect to hear more about in the coming weeks and months. We're going to take a quick break here on Florida Live. When we come back, it is time to talk Florida politics with Kimberly Leonard from Politico. So keep it right here on Fox Local, YouTube, and on Fox 35. We'll be right back. A live look right now at the Freedom Tower in Miami. You see the Kaseya Center as well. This is a camera on the campus of Miami-Dade College's Wolfson campus and shows you the area where we have talked about the future Donald J. Trump Presidential Library. Well, we are learning of a lawsuit challenging the state's gift of that land, the transfer of that land. So joining us live now to talk about this and a lot of other Florida politics topics is Kimberly Leonard, who is a Politico reporter and the author of the Florida Playbook newsletter. And Kimberly, always good to talk with you. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon.
Yeah, anytime.
So what do we know right now about this lawsuit that has been filed, kind of challenging that step that we talked about, I think, last week?
Yeah, it was actually filed Monday, but kind of went unnoticed until today. Essentially, it questions the way that the land from Miami-Dade College was gifted over to the state and then to the Presidential Library Foundation. You know, it is true that a lot of the decision-making around this was very secretive. We don't know when different meetings happened. We don't know who said what. It seemed as though those who voted at Miami-Dade College to transfer the land didn't actually know what it was for. And so it essentially uses, you know, the Sunshine Law and other transparency questions to challenge the quickly moving decision to transfer this to the president's foundation. And you know, I'm not sure if it'll be effective or dismissed or you know, who it's before just yet, but it just goes to show that, you know, whenever presidential libraries are trying to be built, there's always some back and forth and some backlash.
No doubt about that. And so we will certainly keep an eye on that in the coming days and weeks. Now, let's talk about Orange County Mayor Jerry Dimmings. You wrote about him in Florida Playbook today, and it seems like we are getting closer to an announcement of a run for governor. But you also wrote about some insight that we're kind of seeing into the thought process here.
Yeah, and I have been bugging the mayor a little bit over text message, you know, trying to get him to call me again. But he isn't being silent. He's just not doing, you know, traditional press outlets. So this past weekend, he spoke in front of Orange County Democrats, and he gave a really resounding speech. People were on their feet. They were very excited. And he really just got them all together saying, look, basically, like, we have nothing to apologize for being Democrats. You know, these are the great things that we've accomplished, etc. You know, join me in this movement for 2026. And people were, you know, really, I think, moved by it because Democrats have been pretty discouraged. And in recent years, you know, after once purple Florida has turned far more red. And, you know, the buzz in the room, obviously, was when is he going to announce a run for governor? And it wasn't something that he addressed in his speech, but it did sort of almost play like a preview to, you know, campaign launch speech, maybe something that, as Representative Anna Askamani said, might appear in a campaign video at some point. So that was sort of one piece. And then this weekend, I had missed it initially. Someone flagged it for me. He did an interview that aired on Facebook Live where he talked about what he saw as his timeline. So he said in a few weeks that he'll be deciding, even though the host did a very good job kind of pressing him, saying, come on, like, when are you going to do it? Are you going to run for governor? And then he also revealed another piece, which I think is always a question when someone currently holds elected office. He said, you know, regardless of his plans, that he will serve through the end of his term in 2026. So that means that he would be juggling two jobs because running for office is a very, very big full-time job, as well as continuing his job as mayor. So that could actually give him a lot of opportunity. You know, we saw, you know, even though Governor Ron DeSantis lost the presidential nomination to Donald Trump, we still saw him able to use that sort of chair of the governor's you know, muscle and power in order to kind of, you know, get a lot of press for himself. And so Mayor Dimmings could very similarly use his office for that.
Elsewhere in the 2026 governor's race, you also wrote about Paul Renner and the issue of property taxes. What can you tell us?
Yeah, yeah. So former Speaker Renner called me up and we chatted about property tax reform. You know, he's obviously someone who is very steeped in legislation, having, led the lower chamber in the state legislature. So he talked a lot about, first of all, he wants to be out front and center if something is on the ballot to really get people to vote for it, as long as it's something obviously that he can support. But I asked him, I said, well, so if we, what would you want Florida to, at the very minimum, be able to get, if you could only have one thing? And he said that he would really want to make sure that seniors don't see huge hikes in their property taxes. So, we have limits, obviously, on how much property taxes can rise in Florida, but even at that 3% limit, it can still, after, 3 years, be almost 10%. And it just gets to be really expensive. He doesn't want to see people basically having to sell their homes, forego the dreams that they had for retirement just because they can't afford their property taxes. And a close second for him was also helping out new homeowners. So people who have bought in recent years who are facing higher property taxes than those who lived there before them, just because, the property is worth so much more. And so they can go up almost double to what the person before them who was residing in the house were paying. So those were his two priorities. He said he's happy to work with any Republican to talk about it and to get it across the finish line. His big fear is that there's something too unrealistic as well that then voters opt to, not support, and then you're sort of left with nothing. So he said as obviously he's super conservative, he told me I would prefer if there were no taxes at all, but he said that he, also understands is realistic essentially about what can happen. And then finally, one thing I should probably mention too is he wants to make sure that any kind of property tax also tells local governments that they cannot raise fees in other areas. So they would not be able to raise a sales tax, impose, parking fees, things like that, to try to make up for the loss in property tax revenue.
All right, Kimberly, a final thing here, a question I always ask you, what's next in Florida politics? What should we keep an eye on?
Yeah, well, to people back home, I think turn on the Florida channel and check out what's going on at these different interim committee meetings that are happening up in Tallahassee. It's going to give you a really good preview of what the lawmakers in Tallahassee want to focus on next year for the session that starts in January, and just some of the different tensions at play, but the priorities too. What are we going to see on healthcare? What are we going to see, on firearms? What are we going to see on property taxes? All these things are going to be a big part of the discussion, and by watching what's happening there, it can really give people a good sense of where their government's headed.
Well, Kimberly Leonard, Politico reporter and the Florida Playbook author, we appreciate you joining us on Florida Live and talking politics with us today.
Thanks so much.
Governor Ron DeSantis was in Bay County earlier today. He held a news conference at the Bay County Sheriff's Office in Panama City, where he was announcing law enforcement bonuses, more bonuses, handing out some more of those to local law enforcement agencies. At the end of that news conference, he was asked about the impact of the government shutdown on Florida, and here is what he said.
Florida's doing what Florida does. And, fortunately for us, we've always taken the posture that, we're going to take care of our own business. If there's abilities to draw down support from the feds to supplement, we obviously are going to do what's there because Floridians pay federal taxes, but especially under Biden, I didn't expect any support, right? And so we were doing all this stuff. And so I don't know if there's going to be any. I will tell you, because people were asking me about the illegal immigration, are they going to stop helping? Because, we're helping deliver people here illegally to the feds and ICE and DHS. And that's continuing. And they've got a great cadence, and as people come in illegally that are detained and processed, they are removed from Florida very quickly now, and so it's been really, really positive. So that's continuing. I haven't seen any change in any of that, and we're going to keep that mission going. I have mentioned in the past that we are very nimble in how we do this, and so you have the Panhandle. It's hard. It was very hard for them to bring to South Florida for processing. We did do Baker County, which is kind of by Jacksonville, and that's been beneficial. But wouldn't it be good to have a panhandle thing. So that's happening. So that's underway. There'll be an announcement on that relatively shortly. And so that means Northwest Florida, if you have illegal aliens, they can just be processed right here in Northwest Florida, and then they'll be able to be taken by the feds. So that's going to continue going on. And I will just say this, because I see what's going on in Chicago with the posturing of this governor and this mayor. We were under 4 years of Biden. He opened the border. We were trying to fight back. I sent some of our folks to Texas to help fortify the border. We did major legislation in Florida, some of which the court said, well, you can't do that. That's a federal function. Because we're saying if you come to the state illegally, that's a crime. And we wanted to be able to hold. So there were certain things they said, and that was kind of the rejoinder. Oh, this is federal. You can't interfere. All we were trying to do was help fulfill what the statutes say in U.S. law. So that was their position. Now you have the federal government that's actually enforcing what the laws say. And then the same people that said it's federal, that we shouldn't interfere, they're trying to interfere by trying to sabotage enforcement. In places like they said, oh, don't help anybody with DHS. I mean, you see what some of these groups are doing. They're putting a target on the back of these officers.
So Governor DeSantis earlier today in Panama City. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, and we will be right back with more after this. So keep it here on Fox Local, YouTube, and on Fox 35. A live look right now at the Inter&Co Stadium in downtown Orlando, the current home of the Orlando City and Orlando Pride soccer teams, and soon the home of the Orlando Storm. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon, live on Fox Local, YouTube, and on Fox 35. And the announcement today, a new UFL football team coming to Orlando, the Orlando Storm. That announcement made at Inter&Co Stadium earlier today.
There are so many shiny examples in this market of franchises who've been welcomed with open arms, standing on the shoulders, of course, of our legacy franchise, the Orlando Magic, who were welcomed into the NBA in 1989, followed by Orlando City Soccer, our world champion Orlando Pride, Orlando Solar Bears, Orlando Squeeze, and the Orlando Valkyries. Hundreds of sports stakeholders in our community, from venue operators to sales and marketing managers. And on behalf of the sports business community, we're delighted, Mike, that you and the UFL selected Orlando. Inter&Co Stadium, where we sit today and stand today, is an absolute crown jewel, not only in this community, but across Major League Soccer. And we are proud to be the home, and we're selected by the Will family, and love the incredible work that Jared and his team do here. So you couldn't have picked a better group to work with and to partner with. An incredibly collaborative, we talk about it all the time, Mayor, an incredibly collaborative leadership group across all of our elected officials, our tourism leaders, leadership across this marketplace that come together, especially you, our man in the arena, Mayor Dyer, Mayor Demings, and so many others who've been wildly supportive of our hometown franchises and sports venues. Our community is incredibly supportive of football. Football crazy, I'd call it. Cheez-It Bowl, Pop-Tart Bowl, Cure Bowl, Florida Classic, NFL Pro Bowls, hometown of our UCF Knights, and a robust youth and amateur organizations like the AAU and Pop Warner. So, Mike, congratulations to you, the ownership group of Fox, Redbird Capital, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Danny Garcia, ESPN, and of course our new friends, Russ Brandon and Brooke Campbell and Katrina Perez, on this incredible announcement. We can't wait to cheer on the Orlando Storm here at Inter&Co Stadium.
So an exciting announcement, that is for sure. But let's look at it from an economics and business perspective. And who better to talk about that than J.C. Carnahan, who's the commercial real estate and sports reporter with the Orlando Business Journal. And JC joins us live now via Zoom. JC, I know you were at that news conference earlier today, and I'm curious just to get some of your initial thoughts to what we heard from local officials and the UFL owner as well about selecting Orlando for this team.
Well, I think initially, especially for sports fans who have been here in the Orlando area for any amount of time, you are very familiar with our efforts to bring football teams to town in the past. And so I think there's some reason to be a skeptic about it, but there's also a reason to, if you're a football fan, it's something new to enjoy in the spring season, where maybe if you're not so much into baseball or even soccer, there's some other things to kind of do for your family. Economically, when you look at how this could succeed this time around, because you think about it, 2019, we had the Orlando Apollos. That league finished two games short of actually finishing the season. In 2023, we had a team here, the Guardians, was the worst team in the league. Fan attendance was not great. This time around, to make it work, I think you need a grassroots effort by the team to come in, try to include as many groups of people as possible to be a part of coming out to games, whether that's school groups, things like that. And to try to make sure that you are visible in the community to drum up the interest. I think your general football fan has no problem coming out to a game or two, but to get the fringe fan to want to come out and be a part of it, it's going to take a little bit more effort. And I think we saw that the last two times that we try to have football here in the city of Orlando.
You bring up some of those recent examples, and we know, the UFL owner Mike Rapoli was asked about some of those examples. The Orlando Guardians specifically back in 2023, and it seems like they're kind of saying the right things here as far as realizing some things need to be done differently for this team to succeed, and they seem positive that. A couple of things, that Inter&Co Stadium may be a better venue for something like this than Camping World Stadium was back in 2023, and a couple of other things as well that we heard from them.
Yeah, I think that some things that really stand out, not only are they taking a different approach in terms of where they play these games, okay? It's going to create a better atmosphere for fans, of course. It's going to look better on TV as well. But the financial part of it, the league seems to be more financially stable with Mike Rapoli involved in the ownership group than we've seen in previous attempts at this. Obviously, with the Apollos League, it didn't even make it to the end of the season. The Guardians League had its financial issues as well. The fact that there seems to be some real money that's backing this effort, this version of spring football, says a lot. And it was also noted in the press conference that coming up in 2026, it will be year number 5 of spring football, a spring football league in this country being active. And that's a pretty impressive feat, no matter how things turned out the previous 4 seasons. The fact that it's 5 years in a row, spring football, that says a lot for the interest. There's some interest, clearly. But when these other markets are going to these stadiums that are going to be more 20,000, 25,000 seat stadiums, I think that the fan experience could help sell it just on kind of the environment alone.
If this does do well, what does something like this mean for Orlando, Orange County, the Central Florida area?
I would, just as me theorizing here, Camping World Stadium is being renovated. Okay. And there's a real chance that Orlando could be the landing spot for the Jacksonville Jaguars to come down here and play for one season while their stadium gets built up in Jacksonville. And so I think that for people looking at the Orlando market as a potential landing spot to host more NFL games, bigger events at Camping World or elsewhere in the city, I think this could be a good testing ground for the long-term outlook, how people may view the Orlando market for, a chance to do that. So that's something to kind of keep an eye out for. Also worth noting, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the lease at that stadium is due up in the end of the 2028 season. So who knows? I mean, could we get some extra NFL games showing up here in Orlando in the future? We'll find out.
Yeah, we often hear about how great of we heard officials today talking about how great of a sports city Orlando is. They, it's been ranked the top sports destination. So you think something like this could be kind of an audition of sorts for future teams and future opportunities that arise?
I think Orlando is always auditioning. Let's just put it out there like that. I mean, it's one of those things. You showed Jason Segel, obviously speaking at today's press conference. That guy is so busy, so active, trying to get different events signed on to be a part of this Orlando community, whether it's volleyball, national volleyball stuff, rugby World Cup, women's World Cup. We fell just short. Orlando fell just short of being one of the host cities for the men's World Cup. A lot of people don't realize that. So Orlando is constantly knocking on doors, trying to bring different events here to town, which benefits, the hoteliers here, which benefits the community in different ways. So certainly always an audition. I think that this is going to be another good audition for the city. And if I was a wagering man, I would figure that this version of spring football in Orlando will be and should be much more successful than it was in 2023 and, of course, in 2019.
You talked about some of what we need to see from this team for it to be successful here. What are some things that you think we do need to see? We heard them today talk about making it accessible and affordable. How important are things like that when it comes to kind of getting that buy-in for a new team like this and bringing in people like you said, who may be a little more casual, or some folks who may otherwise not check it out?
Yeah, I think the casual fan is really where they need to tap into. And obviously affordability is a big thing. Also some name recognition. Let's talk about who the head coach is going to be. Let's talk about who some of the players are going to be. How familiar is your casual football fan going to be with the name of the head coach, with a name of some of these players on the roster? And so once that news starts to trickle out, I think that you'll see some heads turning, I think, in terms of like, okay, this does pique my interest. or not. But even more concerning, I think, from a business standpoint, from my point of view, is they're starting the league at the end of March. Now, we're in October right now. It doesn't give us a whole lot of time to sell tickets, season tickets, sponsorships, to really kind of tap into the community. So not a whole lot of time to get the thing rolling. But if the league really takes a smart approach, they will think long-term into 2027, 2028. And I think that's kind of what Mike Rapoli, the owner, was sort of saying today, was that they want to get launched here in Orlando. It's the same way in Louisville, Kentucky, and in Columbus, Ohio. Those are the two other cities like Orlando that's new to the 8-team league. Now they got to figure out a way to sustain this. Can we get away from this being one and done in Orlando and sustain it for 2, 3, 4 years in the future? That's going to take a number of different things. Affordability, one of them. Name recognition, I think, is the other one.
A lot to watch in the coming days and weeks. J.C. Carnahan with the Orlando Business Journal. We appreciate you breaking down the announcement for us here today.
All the best to you. Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a quick break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back after this. A live look at Daytona Beach from our Hard Rock Hotel camera. You can finally see some sand again. We've seen that high tide come up really high with that king tide this week, been leading to some beach erosion. We've seen a lot of rain as well. Welcome back into Florida Live. Garrett Wymer here, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon, live on Fox Local, YouTube, and on Fox 35. We were just talking a little bit of football on the business side of things when it comes to the UFL team coming to Orlando. Let's talk a little NFL because last night was a huge win for the Jacksonville Jags on Monday Night Football, eking out a 31-28 win over the Kansas City Chiefs. It was quite an end to the game as well on the deciding play. Trevor Lawrence slipping, falling, stumbling, but somehow still making it in the end zone for that game-winning touchdown against the Chiefs last night. A lot of big plays in that game. We heard from head coach Liam Cohen after the game talking about that big win, what it means for this Jacksonville Jaguars team.
Although we would like to make things very interesting, and it wasn't perfect by any means, but the resiliency is really what I think this team has and has continued to show. There was really no flinch or blink when you're down 14-0. I think early on we might have had a little bit of bright eyes and in a kind of big game that you can understand a little bit in some ways, but got down early. Made an effort to come back. The guy stuck with it. Halftime, Devin Lloyd shows up again with a huge play. Really took all three phases. I thought all three phases really impacted the game. A ton of stuff to correct, but the toughness and resiliency is really something I'm proud of.
What was going through your head on that last touchdown?
Throw it away. No, I mean, because, when he got stepped on and he's coming out of it and you're like, oh, my gosh, throw it away so we could have another down. What an individual effort. I mean, obviously, tough moment where I can only imagine where he was at in that moment on the ground. But to get up, break 3 tackles or whatever it was, 2 tackles, and shed some dude off and go running in the end. I mean, that's an unbelievable individual effort. Yeah, we'd love it to be cleaner and just make it a nice executed play. But at the end of the day, it's about winning. And I'm proud of the toughness that he showed at the end of that game.
And just last one, you mentioned Devin. Just what has he meant to this defense over the last, however many games?
A playmaker. A guy that has just gotten better and better every day, and he's put it on tape through training camp. He's put it on tape throughout the season. Really proud of Devin as a competitor, as a leader. He's somebody that is walking around the facility, with a chin up and really confident right now for a reason. He popped out. I mean, that was one of our zero blitzes that he was one of the guys that shows to get the O-line to kind of squeeze, and then he pops out to the passing strength over there and just had another unbelievable play in a critical moment for us. Really proud of Devin.
Hey, Liam, what did tonight show you about Trevor that maybe you didn't know or weren't sure about?
Yeah, the competitor. I mean, I've known the competitor in terms of being with him for a short time, and then obviously going back to some of the games where he's made comebacks and have a lot of respect for that. But to see him tonight use his legs the way he did, take some shots while he was running, make a critical throw to BT down the sideline to put us in a position, made a huge throw to Diami on the left sideline to again put us inside, I think, the 10-yard line. So, that's it's a goofy finish, but what a tough moment for him to be able to say, he wasn't going to lose. And that's kind of really what it comes down to. He wasn't going to lose, and he made an unbelievable individual effort that hopefully can continue to springboard us.
Does a win like this over the Chiefs tell the rest of the league you guys are legit, or are you worried about putting too much on it?
Yeah, we won today. Tonight, it's a huge moment for our team, our organization.
It is a big win for the Jags moving forward. Well, thanks for joining us here on Florida Live. Been a busy day here on Fox Local. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next time. I'll leave you with this live look at downtown Orlando and Lake Eola.
Hey everyone, I'm Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist Jessica Dobson here with Brooks Garner, and we're going to be talking about the tiny island of Bermuda, which you might hear us reference a lot when it comes to hurricanes in the tropics as a whole.
Yeah, it's an overseas territory of the UK, and hurricanes are far from strangers to this tiny island of just 60,000 residents, which for comparison is smaller than the city of Palm Bay here in Brevard County.
Yeah, and since about the mid-1800s, since we've been keeping track, hurricanes, about 90 of them to be exact, have come within 50 miles or less of the island of Bermuda. And when you think about how tiny the island is across the vast Atlantic, that's kind of a needle in a haystack type of situation there.
Right, you can't build a house on Bermuda that's made out of thatch, right? Like a big bad wolf. It's got to be built to code, and it's got to be able to sustain winds of over 100 miles an hour. And you heard Jessica right, almost 100 hurricanes have passed within 90 miles of Bermuda. The geographical limits, well, they mean you can't evacuate. So you got to shelter in place. You got to have a place that's safe to go. At least without all the land around. You don't have a major storm surge issue, but you've got a big wind issue, and this thing's out in the middle of the Atlantic. I mean, if there's a problem, there's really nobody around to help you.
Yeah, and often.
Hello, everybody. Meteorologist Noah Bergen here. How you doing? It's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. It is the 7th already of October, 2025, and we are tracking a lot out there for today. Hope you're doing well. We've got a lot to discuss on this Tuesday, and a lot to discuss includes the tropics. We have a new system to track out there today, and that new system is Tropical Storm Jerry, and I want to show you the latest on Jerry right now. As you can see, Jerry is forecast to pass near or just north of the Leeward Islands Thursday night into Friday. Now, there is a chance that it does impact the Leeward Islands. And you can see here on the wind swath chart, there is at least 30% probability of tropical storm force winds in Puerto Rico, Antigua, Barbados, over towards the British Virgin Islands. So definitely, if you have a cruise or a vacation planned over the next few days, this could be an impact to you there. Now, the latest with Jerry is it could be a threat also to Bermuda. And we're going to hear in a second from meteorologist Brooks Garner and Jessica Dobson for more about Bermuda and its hurricane history, which is actually quite interesting. But if you're on Facebook or YouTube, let me know where you're watching from. I see my feed now here on Facebook and YouTube. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing good. Let me see if we can see anybody right now. We do have a comment stored here from Dylan. Hello, Dylan. How are you? Good to hear from you, Dylan. Let me pull up some of my other comments on here. Hello, Janice. Hello, how are you? Hello, Kelly. Kelly watching. Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Hope everybody is doing good. So I'm going to pull up some of your comments and see if I can pull some up here. So we have a comment from YouTube here. I'm going to see if I can push this up here for you. Hope everybody's having a great day today. Hello, Berlinda from Kissimmee on YouTube. Hello, Berlinda. How are you? Berlinda is checking in from the Kissimmee area. Appreciate you checking in there. So again, we're talking about here Tropical Storm Jerry that could be a threat to Bermuda. And it's actually quite interesting because Bermuda has some of the strongest building codes in the entire world for tropical systems. And for more on this, hello, Avalis from Winter Haven. I want to bring in meteorologist Brooks Garner and Jessica Dobson for more on the hurricane history and also context about Bermuda and hurricanes. So let's go ahead and take a look.
Hey everyone, I'm Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist Jessica Dobson here with Brooks Garner, and we're going to be talking about the tiny island of Bermuda, which you might hear us reference a lot when it comes to hurricanes in the tropics as a whole.
Yeah, it's an overseas territory of the UK, and hurricanes are far from strangers to this tiny island of just 60,000 residents, which for comparison is smaller than the city of Palm Bay here in Brevard County.
Yeah, and since about the mid-1800s, since we've been keeping track, hurricanes, about 90 of them to be exact, have come within 50 miles or less of the island of Bermuda. And when you think about how tiny the island is across the vast Atlantic, that's kind of a needle in a haystack type of situation there.
Right. You can't build a house on Bermuda that's made out of thatch, right? Like a big bad wolf. It's got to be built to code, and it's got to be able to sustain winds of over 100 miles an hour. And you heard Jessica right. Almost 100 hurricanes have passed within 90 miles of Bermuda. The geographical limits, well, they mean you can't evacuate. So you got to shelter in place. You got to have a place that's safe to go, at least without all the land around. You don't have a major storm surge issue, but you've got a big wind issue. And this thing's out in the middle of the Atlantic. I mean, if there's a problem, there's really nobody around to help you. Yeah, and we often wonder, how in the world does Bermuda survive hurricanes? And it's because of those really strict building codes that they've had since the early 1900s to kind of learn their lesson. And they actually build most of their buildings out of stone, limestone. Even the roofs are built out of stone, believe it or not. So that's one of the better ways that they handle infrastructure, and that even helps them with drinking water because they don't have a natural source of water on the island. And it's amazing to see the building code differences where here stateside, at least historically, building was all about, well, the cost of things. I don't want to say cut corners, but let's just say that before Hurricane Andrew here in 1992, you could get away with a lot more than you can now. Our building codes have gone up since Hurricane Andrew, but that was 1992. Over here in Bermuda, they've been doing it since the turn of last century, now for over a century and a quarter. So it's a testament to preparedness. It's a test of time, and it's a really important thing just to take a look at and see how it's done right. So when we consider future building codes, we keep that in mind. Topically, Jessica, over the last couple of weeks, we've seen so many images in North Carolina of those homes built on the Outer Banks, like in, I think it's Buxton County, North Carolina, falling into the sea. It's like the old thing, what does it say? A wise person will build on rock, not on sand, right? Yeah. And that's a case in point. Yeah, and this is the perfect example too. Geography plays a huge part in it because we know in the Outer Banks, it's just kind of a sand barrier essentially. They have, these sloping hills and almost mountains that they deal with in Bermuda that help them out. So just the housing situation too, of the houses tumbling into the ocean in the Outer Banks is just kind of wild and remarkable to see, but at least they're vacant. Absolutely, yeah. At least they're condemned by the county, so nobody was hurt. Right. But back to Bermuda, man, oh man, beautiful place, beautiful building codes, and actually some very compelling-looking structures. It's kind of nice. Yes, good stuff. Good to know. And maybe next time you'll think about this when we talk about Bermuda and the tropics. So we'll send it back over to you.
Really interesting stuff there. People often think Bermuda is a really dangerous place to live for hurricanes, but actually they take them pretty well, as you heard there from Brooks and Jess. All right, so it's 3:08 p.m. Hope you've had a great day so far. The big story continues to be at our beaches. We've had a lot of onshore flow and a lot of gusty winds. Take a look at Daytona right now, and you can see